guys. Chirpy, g'day, Peter. Kevin, g'day. Haven't watched your videos yet, Kevin. Sorry. 64 Dudley, morning all. David Ian Sykes, morning. While we're thinking of it, if you've got a book on LMS tenders that you might be able to find and send me some pictures out of, I'd really appreciate it. So we'll be in touch. You shouldn't say things like that and post on Facebook because people take you at your word. Stephen Lang, g'day. Mark Osborne, g'day. Craig, hello. Russell Dold, g'day. Jim Minnick. Maddie, hello. Stephen, yeah. That's Maddie from Maddie's Workshop, in case you're wondering. Paul from Manacla's Workshop there. So there we are. No, look, I'm late. I really am late tonight. I had to run into Southport to get some plans copied for this boiler so that I can get and talk to the inspector on the weekend because it's all systems go with that. So I didn't get back here till about 20 to 8 and I sort of had some things to do. Anyway, here I am. Craig, I'm glad that you clarified what sort of dog. Jack Russell, mate, only way to go. I don't know about that. Maddie, I think yeah. Friend at work's just got a Groodle. If you want pointless expensive dogs, I shouldn't say that, but there you go. There will be some video on the boiler build. There we go. Russ Knox, g'day. One of the reasons I'm late, I got an email from Russ Knox and I had to watch that. So I have watched. And I'm currently thinking about it. Groodle. Cross between a golden retriever and a poodle. There you go. That's what a Groodle is. Very good videos from Russ Knox on the model shaper build. Really enjoying that. You should check that out. You should be subscribed to Russ Knox. What else has happened? I've got plans photocopied. I haven't folded them up. They're just sort of all rolled up here. It's the boiler plans. One for me for the workshop because the other one's getting a bit tatty, and one for the boiler inspector, I guess. What else? I got a mess. I've had very little's happened. Hey, Chirp. I'm up to date on Russ Knox's series. Kevin's got a cavoodle. There you go. I'd like a Great Dane, but I'd have to feed him and walk him and put up with him knocking things off the benches. So at this point, no. Hey, Nigel. Thanks for that. Enjoyed Amateur Redneck Workshops live stream. Russ Knox pointed out that there was 2 TMC winners in that live stream. That's pretty exciting. Thanks for the shout out, guys. I really appreciate that. If anyone hasn't seen this week's Amateur Redneck Workshop live stream, it's always good, but featured Alistair and Nigel and Rustinox and the customs guy, custom motorbike guy, and gosh. Anyway, it was pretty good. Paul. Yeah, and also Paul from sorry. From oh my gosh. Knackler's Workshop. So there you go. I'm on top of that. A little bit. I'm a bit exhausted actually. All happening. Yeah, well, I really enjoyed it actually, and it clearly made an impression. I'm sorry. Just trying to think who else was in the boxes, but anyway, there you go. And Adrian too. Yeah, from A's Workshop. A lot of very clever people. It's sort of way out of my league, but you all do some nice work. Anyway, I got this together. Look at this. I got it all together. It's getting a bit heavy. Went through and got all the edge beading on here. It's pretty nice, I think, around there. And right around here. There's a video about this and the horror that is edge beading on Patreon. Be on YouTube before very long, but if you want to see it now, jump on Patreon. Screwed this down, which is a bit of a miracle that it's still screwed down. It's screwed all the way around. And run a bit of solder around the inside and clean the seams up with a bit of spiritual salts. Killed spirits, whatever you want to call it, baker's soldering fluid, and just acid brush and cleaned all the outside round. I think it's probably watertight. No idea. There's still a few screw holes in the bottom and things. Put the handrails on, front and back. Put these steps on. Look at this. Put the steps on. That was quite a job, but that happened. Was it yesterday? No, it must have been Sunday. I got in and put these steps on. So they're all nicely riveted steps. That one and that one. This one's a little bit wider than that one. This is all nicely flush with the corner here. I like that. No gap down the middle. Nice and well. They're not particularly solid, and if I did them again, I would do them differently. But there we go. They're on there, steps each end, so that's pretty exciting. Don't know if anyone's actually seen that. Hey, Matt. Yes, live chat happens on Sunday. And Alistair's cat, that's right. So these steps are sort of an involute curve here, sort of. They're all the same. There's also 2 on the front of the locomotive, which are also the same. So I sort of went ahead and cut them out as well. But that's sorted. We've got a pump in here, which needs an extension handle, which will go in the toolbox at the front. Two vents to go on here, and the holes. Got 2 holes here drilled for vents, which are going to look, they're probably going to look something like this. That's as far as we are with this. We'll see. Robert Burns, good to see you. Kevin, yes, the springs have well and truly bottomed. We're going to have to put some bigger springs in. What's the scale of the model? It's 3.5 inch gauge, so that's 3/4 of an inch to the foot, roughly. Is that right? Does that sound right? Something like that. Also got these brackets in here, which I've been meaning to do. They're hopefully about both the same, one this side and one this side, and there's a till or a top or a loose piece or a lift out piece or a removable piece or a cosmetic only sort of a piece that sits on here. Whether I just run a toolbox along here the full length like the early style, or whether I put actual doors in here with a locker on each side, which is a bit of a pain and pretty useless and not much use for anything really, having 2 little lockers for firemen to put their coat and their thermos in. But the original one just had an oval top on the door here and a piece here, and it's the same shape on here as it is here. Oops. So this curve here is replicated across the top here, and then there's a long locker along the top, and that's probably what it's going to get. Hey Brendan. So all systems go with this. Pretty excited that some of these angles actually line up and the thing's sort of half square. I'm going to have to find a pin vise and tap some of these holes out because they've got solder in them all round. It's only every second hole, every second screw in here, I've got to run out of screws again. These are all countersunk screws, all flush mounted here. So stops the dirt and stuff gathering and catching behind them, chopping them off with the shovel. Hey Dennis, good to see you. So, there we go. There we are. Filed all these rivets that were sticking out, the screws that were sticking out off flush. So these were actually prototypically smooth side. There's no rivets in the tender. There's quite a lot more in the locomotive. But these are all smooth through here now. So coat of paint on these and they'll just be smooth side, I hope. There's 2 steps here. There should be a nameplate here in the middle at some point. There needs to be a hinge on here, whether it's that way. There's probably room for it that way. I would think it's probably going to end up being that way so that this doesn't fall off and get lost. Still not got proper springs in the buffers either. These are a bit light. So we're going to have to touch them up too and make new ones. But the tank probably is going to be somewhere near watertight. And the coal chute's going to be sort of a half practical sort of a shape. Not probably entirely prototypical, but half practical. To a little toolbox on the front here, and it's still got to have, here we go, a false floor in here. So it's got a piece of brass that goes through here with girders in here, and this is open, which is the floor level of the locomotive. And it's got to have a brake standard on this side here. Which works a shaft that goes through the front here with a rock arm, and then that shaft pulls a lever to operate 3 link shafts here on the wheels. So there's a lot of work there. Hey Stuart. Yeah, make own springs. I think I've decided that that's just the way forward. Too much messing around to get them made. I've got some spring wire there. We'll see how we go with it. If it doesn't work, we can try again. So that's starting to look half finished. It's not finished. You use die springs. They're a bit small. I don't know if you can get die springs that small, Stephen. That's what I was thinking. But they're only 1/4 inch diameter. This hinge here, I reckon, is going to be with a curved link in the middle, hinged on the back here, so that it lifts up and clicks over centre, something like that, which will give us plenty enough opening to fill it up. Probably this is going to have a lip around it that fit in this hole to stop the splashes. That's another thing that's going to happen. So this, when you look at the list, there's a billion jobs that still need to be done to this. Got to have, let me see that. Got to have a coupling hook here, and coupling. Probably wants a vacuum pipe, whether that's dummy or otherwise. It's got to be pulled apart. It's got to have a slot in this end to match the slot in that one over there. For the coupling between the two. It's got to have some plates in under here for hoses. So there's a hose, pressure hose, through from the hand pump, goes into the line for into the pump system line, and then there's a suction pipe from the tank through to the pumps and injector, and there's a return pipe through from the pumps for the cut-off, so that if you're not pumping full capacity into the boiler, you can let some of it go back to the tank. So they're all things that are on the list of things that need to be done. So it's another solid week's work in it. Was it way? Good question. Never really thought about that. 6 kilo, something like that. 6 kilo. I didn't even think to look on the die springs chart, to be honest, but I'll just make some up. I've got some spring wire, so we'll see how we go. That's probably the next job. And there's probably 10 kilos of Yeah, it probably holds 10 litres of water, something like that. So, yeah. That'll go in a 5 kilo box, but that other bit over there that goes with it won't. So, there we go. Anyway, that's what I've been doing, is putting this together and making it look something like a locomotive. The springs are right down. You can see there's a... we'll talk about that a bit later. Yes, we will. I think if you're going to build one, Craig, you probably should start now. That's what I'm at with that. And anyone else too. This has got a 1/4 inch gap here, the difference, because we're right on the bottom of the springs. And this is right on the top. So, how did I do the beading? Yeah, the beading's half round brass. Got some left. Let's have a look. Don't know, I think you can see that sort of. Almost. Probably you can't too. Sorry. Our depth of field here is not very big. But it's a half round section. I think it's probably 332, 2.5 mil, something like that. So I've got a bit left, which is probably nearly enough to go around the cab. That's sort of what needs to be done. It needs cut out around the cab and across the back and around the cab on that side at this point. But there's absolute crap load of work before we even think about that. Got no idea. It's probably going to go on the back burner for a bit. I don't know. I get this finished, make a start on the boiler and get into that. If I get the boiler on it, then I'll either get really enthusiastic and finish it, or I'll put it away for a bit and say we've done enough for a while. But the thing is mentally and financially draining and time consuming. But it's going to be a fairly nice engine, I think, maybe, when it's done. Still got screws all over the bench here. We're trying to pack some of them up. So this is Walshart's valve gear. As far as I know, there's not too many issues with this. I'd really like to run it around the track at some point with a boiler on it, and then it's probably we're going to find all sorts of funny squeaks and rattles and loose bits and things that come undone and things that won't stay tight and things that touch. And then we can start thinking about fixing all that. I didn't do that work. Kevin, no all up weight. No, I would imagine it depends on a lot of things. There's not really enough information on the plans to let you calculate it out. If you want to use brass or stainless for the tender, or whether you wanted to use 1.6 or 1.2 or 0.8 sheet or whatever you had, whether you wanted to put 3mm frames or 1/8 frames, which is what this has got, or go a bit thicker for a bit of tractive effort. The boiler will be probably twice the weight of the one that's drawn, because there's nearly twice as much copper in it. The bit of copper that I ordered, which is probably a little bit in excess because we had to order full sheets and things, I haven't ordered, but that I got quoted on, was about another 7 or 8 kilos. So there we go. This is going to be a push onto the track, push off of the track sort of thing. Chirpy, that's a good idea, and probably it might even happen, to be honest. We run it on, put it on a rolling road. I would like maybe next weekend to put it on a rolling road and give it a run. So it'd be nice to give the thing a run on live stream next week. We'll see how we go. But really, it needs valve setting on steam before it goes out on the rail. That's where we're at with it. Because it's not the world's easiest machine to set valves on. Probably should just move the camera. But there's no actual valve caps on this because this is supposed to look like it's piston valve, which is not, slide valve for simplicity. I did put these 2 plugs in the top here so you can actually see the valve without taking it apart, which is probably going to be an amazing improvement. I don't know why they weren't drawn like that, because before you had to take this cover off, take this shaft out, assemble it all back on without the cover and time it up, and then take this pin out and put it all back together again and make sure it was all sealed and put the pipes and things back in and start again. And to pull this cover off, you've got to pull the centre pipes out, so you've got to take the fire smoke box and the boiler off. It's a fairly serious job to do that. So I put these 2 plugs in here, so you can actually see the valve through there, and probably should be able to time it without taking it apart, I hope. That's the theory. I hope anyone's seen inside this. I'm going to tip him over on one side here so you can see a bit further maybe. Can we? Don't know if we can. Probably not really. Anyway, we've got 2 eccentrics here that run the 2 pumps. There's a double pump there for the water pump. There's another eccentric here that runs the oil lubricator there. This is your steam delivery, and this is the exhaust. So, sorry, work message on the other phone. So, there's a lot of bits still to go on this though. We've still got to make an eccentric. I've got the casting for the eccentric strap here and a rod to go through the lubricator. I've still got to give that lubricator a bit more attention. Craig, yeah, look, varying accounts, but a guy I know in England who should know these things and builds these things for a living says that this particular model at 50 psi will pull 6 adults pretty comfortably. So there we go. I'll be disappointed if it doesn't, but this thing, the boiler's going to be rated at 80, so that's a fair bit of tractive effort. And every bit of weight you can put in it probably helps too. Put this in mid-gear. No. So, anyway, there we go. Put this down here. And this connects on there like that. It's not a crazy small engine. Volumetric horsepower of the boiler is pretty serious, and 2 fairly big cylinders there, so totally expect that, Paul. So this is ready to go away at the weekend and get some approval on my plans to start a boiler. So that's where we wanted to be. I'm going up on Saturday night to Warner to an engine run. I'll try and get some video. I'm not going to promise, but I'd like to get some video. And I'll talk to the boiler inspector and sign on some dotted lines and things and get things sorted so that I can actually commence on the boiler. Anyway, what else happened today? Change the subject. Got a parcel. Mine's tomorrow, Craig. There you go. This was posted Monday, apparently. A man who's good as his word, which is better than what I am, because I still owe him a parcel from a long time ago, and I was probably going to send it tomorrow. If he's watching this, I better now. The parcel from Presso. Anyone who saw his latest few videos. He put his hand up and said, "Who wants a touch DRO?" And I sort of said, "Well, what can I use a touch DRO on?" Really good question. One with not really any good answers, to be honest. What do you use touch DRO on? Anyway, I have got a project lined up for it, so more about that later. I think I've got a project lined up for it. We'll see how it works before we say anything. But there's a board. This is a fairly nice board, like the man says. Fairly nicely built. This big chip impresses me. I like the size. The printing and everything's pretty nice. It's nicely finished. It's not a bad quality board at all. X, Y, Z and M. I guess M is probably monitor, I'm not sure, and this one's probably a charge or running jack. Not sure about this little plug here. So I need to do some maths. So there you go, you can read it there if you're really good. So got that and a box, and I reckon that the laser cut plate is probably Presso's work, I'm not sure. But I'm not sure about that actually. Anyway, just don't touch it. Thanks, Russ Knox. And a nice nice 3D printed case, like a really nice 3D printed case actually. In probably, oh gosh, what's that? It's it's not PLA. What's that plan printed in? Not sure. It's not. No, it's not nylon. It's could be PETG. I don't think it is though. Now it's printed on textured board, which means it's probably something that's pretty sticky, and that's why I say PETG. It's got a texture on there. If it was printed on a smooth board, then it's something that's going to release off the board before you finish printing it. So it's not nylon. PETG maybe. Not sure. It could be ABS. Most of my ABS I print on smooth and it never has any problems and it's more likely to lift than otherwise. So, not sure, but anyway, it's a pretty nice print. They're both very nice prints. It's a fairly nice box, everything lines up. Pretty good in the box. So, there's also a page of notes about scales and things. Thanks, Prezzo, if you're watching this. Man of action. So, I've got a project for that. We're going to have to find some scales and going to have to find a tablet of some sort to run it. I thought about putting it on the lathe. There's not really enough room for a DRO on my lathe, and the hand wheels are plenty good enough, to be honest. Might be very nice to have an XY DRO on my lathe, but there's not enough room to put it anywhere, and anything you do put on gets in the way, so I'm not sure about that. There is another project that I'm thinking about, so more about that soon. Yeah, DRO for hand files might be the answer. No, I've got a bit of a project. We'll see. So anyway, pretty pleased. It's nice that it's here, but probably too quick. Another 6 months on this project would have been good. Haven't got any scale ordered, nothing like that. Nothing like that. It's not CNC either, promise. It's the other end of the scale to CNC. It's old-fashioned technology, but it might be fun. No scales ordered. I haven't even looked at them. I got this today. I haven't honestly haven't gone and looked. More importantly at the moment is to get some boiler copper, I think. Even just some plates to make some flanges and some tubes. But the scales are going to go on the back burner for a little while. A few weeks, at least. Peter Nottle and I sat down. Where's Peter? Peter's gone. Peter must have decided that he couldn't put a shirt on or something. Anyway, we sat down on Tuesday night, something like Sunday night. This must have been Saturday night or Monday night. It probably was after everyone went to bed. Chirpy got sick of us and talked projects for a bit. I'm going to get this out, but it's not going to be a project. Peter's here lurking. This is a clock dial that's seen better days in the last 250 years or something. So, awesome, Brendan, awesome. Well, we're getting to Toolfest 2021, so that's awesome. This is John Mallet, Barnstaple, England, Oh my gosh, I can't remember. I think it's 1850s. I did look it up once. So it's got a calendar, sort of very primitive. It's got a picture of a castle of some sort, which is probably a Barnstable landmark. I'm not sure. It might be a fictional castle. It might be King Arthur's Keep, or it could be... Anyway, it's got some flowers and some gold leaf, but it's also got a fair bit of rust damage. Now, I don't believe this can be improved any. It's a bit of a mess. Why am I prattling on about a clock dial? Because with the clock dial comes this cardboard box. In the great drawer in the sky that is the project vault, this is the original. Yes, this is the original clock. I haven't seen it yet. Is it up today? Pretty excited about that. I saw the Instagram post. I talked about it a bit. Pretty excited to see that. So yeah, go and watch it. It's going to be fun. Not claiming any design responsibility, but there you go. Bell and Ross is where it is. So we have a 30-hour long case clock movement and dial. It's provincial England, or it's out in the sticks. So it's 10 years behind London fashion. Makes it 1850s, I think. Thanks, Craig. Excuse me. Oh my goodness. It is only 30-hour, which means you've got to wind it once a day. Let's pop around inside there. And it goes bang. Thanks, Craig, for that. Thanks for that. It's probably COVID. This isn't going to happen at any point. However, what I'm saying is that this, if anyone's got a few planks of quarter sawn oak that they think would make a nice clock case and wanted to do a joint project or wanted a mechanism for a clock, I'd be happy to do this up and move it on, or do this up and buy a clock case. That's where I'm at. So anyone's looking for a clock case project, there's a very nice long case clock here that it would go in. But it wants to be oak, and it wants to be sympathetic to the 1850s, and it wants to be English, I think, and nice. I'm thinking that Hue and Pine probably probably wouldn't really cut it, but I don't know. Anyway, we've got a long case grandfather clock movement here that's pretty nice. It's count wheel strike. All these levers are forged. It's got a crazy big cast iron bell. You want to hear that again? Cost prohibitive, probably as much as Huon, yeah. To buy a genuine case for this, you're looking at about $5,000 in today's market. To put this in a genuine case, you've probably got a $12,000 clock. So that's kind of where we're at. I said that right, yeah. It's probably, the bottom's dropped out of them a little bit, but it's an expensive clock in an auction showroom, in an auction catalogue. It needs a bit of work. The train's half worn out. It needs a pendulum. The pallet crutch here is missing the fork. It's missing the suspension. It needs a few new pins in it. It needs some work here on the hour pipe. It needs hands. It needs a chain that matches this barrel, and it needs weights. So potentially this is a pretty nice clock. I'm going to go there. And it's going to go back in the box. But if anyone at some point thinks, I can make a clock case as a project, let's talk. That's all we are. Let's talk. Very nice clock. Potentially that's hasn't been out of the box since I lived in Tasmania probably 15 years ago. Yeah, there's no great rush on that, to be honest. An Australian case would be probably nice, but it's the English clock. And I don't think it would have had a fancy case on it, and oak would be probably where we're at with that. Do have some pictures somewhere of a similar John Mallet clock from Barnstable, and I don't imagine they're all that much different. So there we go. Everyone's gone silent with that. That's too much for most people, and I understand that. This dial under the camera looks pretty not too bad. It's really a shocker. I can't see that this will ever be fixed. Someone's put a coat of automatic clear over it at some point, which has sort of saved it to a certain point, but it makes it hard to restore or impossible to restore because all this here was loose and looked like it was about to peel off before they did that. So it's got a good coat of a preservative coat on it, but it's sort of made actually restoring it very difficult. Take care, Jim. That's hand painted. I would say it's enamel, yeah. I would say it's enamel with probably some sort of ink for the letters and markers, and enamel in the corners. Originally it had, take care, hey Paul. Originally it had some imitation gold here in the flowers on each corner, and probably like an imitation gold or a gold size gold powder sort of style paint around here. It's tired, but I think it would clean up all right. I honestly think it would clean up all right. Could send it to the repair shop, yes. If we're going to go to that trouble, we could also call in American Pickers and get some money for it. If someone wants a clock repair project to make a case for, that's another thing too. I'd be happy to move it on. If you think, gosh, I'd like a vintage clock to restore, a nice one. And mantle clocks are a bit ordinary and there's lots of them and it doesn't really challenge me. And you've been looking for a project for a while, there's a nice John Mallet son, from Barnstaple, 30-hour long case that needs some work. And I'd be very, 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 very happy to to pass it on to someone who might be able to do it up. I know roughly what it owes me, and yeah, I wouldn't be expecting to build a boiler out of the proceeds, but it's a nice clock. But there'd have to be some sort of confirmation that you were going to do it up sympathetically, do a decent job of it. It wants fixing. Dreamsin, hey, I hope you're okay. Worried about you with the floods and things. I hope everything's nearly back to normal. Wonder if you're back in the workshop. Give us an update if you can. It's good to see you. But yeah, I don't think a laser cut plywood case is really going to do it for this. I think it's probably going to need some antique joinery and some time spent making hinges and glass doors and things like that. That'd be pretty interesting. Dreamstein, would be good to see that, and I hope you. It's not good to see it. It's a bit of a pity it's happened, but we would all like an update, and we all wonder what happened over there. Really, the rest of the world would love to see video. So that's another. It's like the antimatter. Oh, Shouse's on it. Yeah, a wooden case, eh? That's interesting. Yeah, man, it's everyone's sort of coming around to that. Someone wants a clock to restore. We can talk swapsies. Dreamsteam's in Germany, I think. It's had some flood damage in the last little while. Anyway, got you all thinking about that. It's nice 1850s clock. It's potentially pretty nice. And well, I mean, we'll get it to you if you want to part with some cash. Otherwise, eventually I'll do it up. Eventually. No progress on the laser cutter. Sorry. Haven't really messed with it at all this week while I've been messing with this tender. Haven't touched it. We probably all need this reminder while we're talking about laser cutting. The other reminder we need, of course, is Toolfest 2021, which is on its way. We're getting closer. What's the date? It's the sort of pushing the end of the month. It's the beginning of the next month, so we're a week out already. Time to get making some video. Don't leave it till last minute. All that sort of stuff that just falls on deaf ears, and I'm wasting my time even saying it. My breath, but I'm going to say it anyway. There you go. I've got to do some sign painting. Thanks, Maddie. Got to do some sign painting with some urgency when I get back after the weekend. So that's where I'm at with that. So this is going to be put away for a little while. There's 1,000 little things on the laser cutter, Chirpy. There's just screws and fasteners and brackets and things like that. These things are probably never ever finished. Don't do the 83 days to go. That's just a bit scary. But thanks, Paul. It's working, but it needs a few tidy up things. What else? What else is happening? Two hours from Mustanox. That's crazy. 2-hour drive doesn't even get me to my model steam cub. It gets me about halfway. No, 2 hours to do it in a fast car on the motorway in anywhere else but Peak Hour. It's the other side of the city. That 4-hour drive to Tom. That's crazy. And you do it to me, Craig, in about 23 hours with an overnight boat trip. So there we go. I'm starting to feel a bit zonked out, actually. I still want to do a load of laundry because I haven't quite got enough clean clothes to go away on the weekend. And I need a cup of tea. It's just thrown up random. 23 hours to Australia, yeah. About the same to England from here. I've done that. About 14 hours to LA, which is closer. It's going the opposite direction, so you're always burned out when you get there. Whereas if you go to England, you're ready to go, and then the UK, and then you burn out when you come home. But yeah, Paul, fly to the right city, because if you don't, you might be a long way from anywhere. Anyway, I think we've pretty well covered it tonight. It's good to see you all. My battery's going to go flat, I think. The Australia-UK flight's a bit of a killer, that's right. I've done it a few times, but I'd do it again in a heartbeat. After this pandemic's over, I think I will probably bring this locomotive. As soon as the pandemic's over, I'll bring this and run around a few tracks in England. If it's all up to code. There you go. It's a promise. Anyway, I'm out. Take care, guys. Good to see you all. 83 days to TMC 2021. No, sorry. 83 days to Toolfest 2021. And all sorts of exciting things. Let's Toolfest. Expect an email or something from me, Russ Knox, in the next few days. Yeah, if you stop overing through China and Mongolia and Russia through Aeroflot, it might take longer than that. Take care. Good to see you, Maddie. Good to see you, Chirp, Craig, Dennis. Good to see you. I'm out, and we'll catch you next week. Probably be a video before then on my channel. And we'll all be on Discord anyway.